Demon keeps dreaming of a demon town. Motherfucker, bitch, fuck, shit went down. Fleming's got an itch, scratch it with a bitch. Demon keeps dreaming of a demon town. Ooh, Johnson, that's my name.
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again, introducing you to my Shadows of the Damned Satanic Hell difficulty video walkthrough. This is the level 4-5 and it is entitled Suburban Nightmare. And this is a pretty long level, and I don't remember Suburban Nightmare starting at this part, but apparently it does, and I'm not going to question my categorizing scheme, so I'm just going to go with it. But this is glitchy as shit, this first bit. Sometimes if you push forward to here and these guys don't spawn, you can actually run through the level, and you'll fall into glitch land, and you'll just be falling forever and running around under the graphics. It's really fucking dumb. It's the type of stuff that used to happen on pretty much every PlayStation game, but every PlayStation 1 game. That's not me hating on Sony or anything. Back when games were always broken as fuck, and they're still kind of broken, but you don't see it as well. They seem to have gotten a lot better at hiding it. This game, however, if that happens to you, excuse me, it can be really annoying. But this first area here is filled with the Pyramid Head guys, these dudes here, and they're going to be firing those lock-on bats, or birds, or whatever the hell they are, the birds, those lock-on crows at you for days unless you kill them. And I do not recommend shooting them with this gun, even though you'll notice it is a one-hit kill, and I do have a lot of ammo for it, but they're everywhere in this area, and one thing I would advise is when you kill them, make sure you run to where they were so you can pick up all the gems that they drop. Because there's so many enemies in this area that you'll focus on killing from a distance that by the time you get over to them, a lot of the gems have disappeared and you've lost out on potential upgrades, potential, healing items, potential ammunition drops, and all that good stuff. So you want to try and get to them when you kill them as quickly and as swiftly as you can. But it's all pretty standard from here on out. The levels of this game aren't what makes Satanic Hell challenging, it's the bosses, and the only reason the bosses are challenging is because there's no checkpoints. If there were checkpoints, they would be jokes. They've got a lot of life, but it's the fact that you make one mistake and you're back to the start. That's the only reason it's hard. And to me personally, that is a difficulty that's been done wrong, because the hardest difficulty should mix up everything. It should be creative, it should be interesting, and this game's isn't, unfortunately. And the only games that seem to have interesting difficulties are the ones that you don't generally expect. Like, I've probably spoke about it before, but the original Crisis, the hardest difficulty on that sounds amazing. Just because it does so many interesting things. Like, instead of the AI who you're against speaking English, they speak Korean or whatever country that you're invading, and stuff like that, so that you can't overhear what they're thinking and what they're doing. And it doesn't sound like much, but it's really interesting. And like, there's things like people will not show up on your map unless you directly look at them, and before you kind of have this reconnaissance ability to, if they were in a vicinity to you, you could see them. And it's just little touches that add challenge to it. Just little things you don't expect. And the games that do it the best, I find, are the action games, like Devil May Cry's and Ninja Gaiden's, because you fight enemies that you didn't even know existed, and that is cool, because they've intentionally held back more challenging enemies for the people that want to delve deeper into the game. And I can remember my first experience with that when I was playing Devil May Cry, because anybody who knows, when you first start playing Devil May Cry on normal, on the original PS2, it's like, it was not an easy game, and this was a time when games weren't generally too difficult. They'd kind of mellowed out a little bit from their hardcore origins, and I got to Phantom, and I was young, so by definition I was pretty shit at games, and he kicked my ass, because I was just in his face punching him with my sword. And that is not how you want to fight that boss. You want to evade and be strategic, but at the time, my only real frame of reference was brawlers, so on those games you ran up to a dude and you punched his face off Streets of Rage Final Fight style until he died, and you didn't die. On this game, you did die, so it was so different. And I couldn't beat him, and he kicked my ass for a whole bunch of times, and I kept trying to beat him, It kept asking me if I wanted to move down to like pussy difficulty. I'm like, no, I'm staying on this difficulty, I will beat him. And then eventually I'd been there for like 2 hours, and I decided to drop the difficulty down to easy. and I played through it on easy. I felt like I was a badass, felt like I was an absolute monster, kicked a load of ass, thought I was amazing, and then I tried it on normal, and I was fighting enemies I didn't even know existed. Like, excuse me, if you don't play on normal, you never witness the shadows, and the shadows are the hardest part of that game. And like, never even knew they existed until I played on normal, and then they turned up when one of those, like, you know, those Texas cow skulls with the cloaks that attack you with the scythes, when those death claws turn up. And this time, this dog that was completely covered in black showed up and started turning its face into a sword and shanking me. And it was like, Jesus Christ, this thing is insanely hard, it's kicking my ass, I didn't even know what it was. That is what a hardest difficulty, or a harder difficulty, should do. Interesting stuff like that. Like, limit certain things that's different, change the area of certain things, just mix it up. It makes it almost like a completely different game. And to me, that's what makes me really miss scoring systems in games. Like, don't get me wrong, I kind of groan when it comes to ranking systems, because there's nothing worse than playing a game and getting to the end of a level for it to be like, you got the tampon award for being shit. And you kind of think, well, that's not cool. I'm not a tampon. I'm at least like a man-pon. And I'm at least a mini raft, like an Ugg boot raft or something. I'm as water absorbent as that, and slightly larger, like a small mattress. Surely I'm more than a tampon. And you feel bad. It makes you feel like, you know, you beat the game, you thought you were doing okay, or you beat the level, sorry, and then it comes at the end and it goes, this is how shit you did, this is how uncool you are, and it just makes you go, how the hell do I get better? Or how the hell do I play that better? And that is good in one regard, because it makes you change the way you play, it makes you learn the game. But at the same time, you can't just casually play that game then. You turn into that dude who has to get the highest ranks, who has to do, you know, the hardest things. And once you start down that path, it doesn't end well. It's, you know, perpetual virginity and ridiculously insane runs on the hardest games ever made. And it's just, there's not a very good balance between it. Because nobody wants to be berated for not being good at a game, but at the same time it is nice to be critiqued. And scores are awesome like that. You know, when you've got a nice number up in the top corner and it looks like it's massive and you can't quite tell if it's 1 million or just, you know, 400,000 because you're not too good at guessing how many letters, how many numbers there is in it and all that good stuff. And then you get to the end of the level and you've got a whole bunch of numbers and you're like, yeah, that's pretty good, I can focus on beating that the next time around. It doesn't matter that there's a guy on the internet that's got a score that's 10 times the one you ended on in the first 10 minutes. It's the fact that you feel good about seeing those numbers and you can try and improve them at your own pace. And I think that's something that is only done well for very, you know, infrequently. And it's a shame too, because everybody's seeking for affirmation from games these days. That's why achievements are so popular, that's why trophies are so popular, because people like getting that pat on the shoulder. They like that little digital emoticon that pops up and goes, you did something cool, here's a nice bit of, you know, completely worthless feedback, pretty much, and you enjoy it, and you can get addicted to it. There's a lot of people that have, I have myself, and it's like, we are obviously wanting this feedback. It's why Call of Duty is so popular, because you're constantly getting gratification for what you're doing. It doesn't matter that it actually means nothing outside in the real world, but at the time you're so engrossed in it, you sink hours into it. I should really talk about this dude, because I think he's new. This is the like porcupine retard enemy, and what he does, he will turn into a ball and he'll roll after you. You've got to make him hit something solid, he'll go onto his belly, and then you can shoot his gem. And rinse and repeat, because as you can tell, he's not very clever. He's a bit of a retard, a bit on the special bus, this one, as a child. And I'm trying to hit him with the second fire of the hot boner, but it's not worth doing. It's really not worth doing. Quickest way to kill those guys, knock them over, go up to them with the Skullfest 9000, charge it and hit them, and it should kill them in one shot if you can get 4 skulls in them. Extremely powerful move. But we're a nation of gamers now that are almost obsessed with feedback. We're almost obsessed with this digital gratification and these schemes that are growing from it. And it even gets to the point these days where people will not do something on a game unless they get something for it, unless they get some kind of reward. And I can completely understand that, but it's changing the mentality of what being a gamer is. And I'm probably going to continue this on the next video, guys. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and you take care now.